So, the next speaker, Mrs. Seebold, will talk about activity-based costing and subject-oriented process management.
Good morning, everybody. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Cornelia Seebold. I work for the University of Applied Sciences in Ingolstadt, and together with my colleague Werner Schmidt, as well as the University of Applied Sciences in Ingolstadt, and Albert Fleischmann, mit der Soniker AG, but he's still in coffee break, I think. We had a look at how controlling functionality could be integrated in SBPM. In our presentation, we put an emphasis on cost information. The title is Activity-Based Costing for SBPM. Let's have a look at the agenda. After the introduction, I want to have a short look at the concept of process controlling and briefly introduce activity-based costing. The main part of the presentation is the example for estimating process costs in SBPM. The presentation ends with a short conclusion and some aspects of future work. In a study on the status quo of business process management, the authors found out that the enterprises highly value BPM, but the implementation is still in its childhood. The focus is on documenting business processes, and only a few companies consequently perform process performance measurement with well-defined key figures. And that's what PricewaterhouseCoopers and faculty from University of Würzburg found out. They conducted the study in German and Austrian companies in 2010-2011. Facts like this one motivated our work, and the idea was to elaborate a concept to integrate process controlling functionality in SBPM. Especially, as I mentioned before, cost information. As you know, workflow engines like Metasonic Flow store a lot of information, quantity-related data or time-related data, and there are many raw data information is stored with the help of the process engine. Examples are mentioned here: the begin time and end time of every single instance, or even of the single steps within an instance, and as well the number of instances of a certain process per time unit. Such raw data can be used for process monitoring and process controlling. Actually, it's quite difficult to make a clear distinction between the two of them. Monitoring and controlling. In literature, you can find that process monitoring deals with the analysis of workflow instances at runtime. So the questions that can be answered with process monitoring are, for example, what's the current state of a workflow instance, or another question would be, are there potentially overdue work items? Process.
Feel free to take any.
Thank you. Process controlling, on the other hand, deals with aggregated workflow instances and an ex-post analysis. Controlling always means to first set performance standards, second to measure this, the actual performance, and then to compare the standards and the actual performance. Third step. Next step would be to analyze deviations, and last but not least, to take corrective measurement. Now, the framework of process controlling, I first have to mention that controlling and process controlling as well has always a strategic and operational dimension. We can concentrate it in our framework on the operational dimension with key figures. The major question is how to measure process performance, and as you can see, it's always time, quality and costs to assess efficiency. Those information should be, as you can see here, should be defined, measured, evaluated or benchmarked and reported on a monthly or even weekly basis. We call it permanent controlling. On the other hand, you have got information like customer satisfaction or maturity levels of processes or of the BPM process itself that should be defined, measured and so on a case-wise basis, maybe once per year or whenever need is. We decided to have our first look at the costs of the processes, and we will show that SBPM allows to determine cost figures for processes, process steps, and as well for the occupation of organizational units. The main concept methodology to integrate cost information is activity-based costing. The idea of activity-based costing is quite simple. The production and delivery of products or services always involves many activities. Activities that take place within cost centers and over the boundaries of cost centers. And all those activities, therefore you need resources, and the resources are consumed, and the consumption of the resources causes costs. That's the main idea, and as you can see, there are several steps in activity-based costing. The first step is the analysis of the activities with the help of interviews and so on. The result of such an analysis is a transparent process structure. The activities are assigned to process steps that are fulfilled within cost centers, and they are aggregated to main processes from the different cost centers where the process steps take place. So the result of this first step in activity-based costing is process structure like this one. And it can be based on the results of an activity analysis and modeling in SBPM. Next step is to determine the cost drivers. As you know, usually resource consumption and related costs vary. Therefore, you can determine cost drivers, like the number of orders, hours, and so on. The cost drivers are sometimes difficult to assess because the driving force, the cost driver is not only one, but the costs vary dependent on several influences. Next step is to determine the process costs. In a given cost accounting system context and in a given organization, resources and costs are usually planned on cost center level. One simple way to determine process costs is to estimate the number of employees that is involved within a special process and then to multiply with their wage. Then you have got the process costs. That's a very, very simple way. Next step next step would be to determine the process cost rate, which is similar to the computation of a mesh hour rate. It's a simple, it's similar to the computation of a mesh hour rate. It's a simple division. All process costs divided by number of cost drivers gives the rate. So now let's turn to the example, and that's the main part of the presentation. I want to show how process costs could be estimated in SPPM. We assume, therefore, a service provider with a very flat organizational structure. You can see there's an executive board, and 4 departments: IT, logistics, sales, accounting. Each department has got a department head and several employees. So just a very flat structure. In our example, we used an order process and modified one of the demonstration processes in Metasonic Build. This slide shows the subject interaction diagram. The subjects are called purchaser, approver, warehouse, and supplier. And the purchaser sends an order request to the approver. He gets back either approval or denial. Then on the sunshine path, if the order request is approved, he sends the order to the warehouse, and the warehouse sends the order to the supplier and announces the date of delivery to the purchaser. When the warehouse gets the delivery, they turn the items, maybe IT equipment, to the purchaser. That's just one part of the subject interaction. Other subjects in our example are invoice verification and accounting or bookkeeping. I just want to tell you how the interaction goes on. The supplier sends as well an invoice. Invoice verification takes place, and after that, accounting or bookkeeping sends the amount to the supplier. Now, another slide. This one is about the subject behavior. I've chosen the purchaser. You can see functional states, receive states, send states, and state transitions for the purchaser. The process, or the behavior, starts with the creation of an order request, and it either ends this way with the order request denied, or it ends after some checks when the delivery is fulfilled. In this diagram, we have integrated some time information. They are recorded as timestamps from the process engine. This is the begin time, 4:05, and the end time of creating the order request, so it takes 10 minutes. For the other two functional states, check date of delivery, that's what the purchaser as well has to do. We assume 5 minutes, and for the check of the delivery, 20 minutes. Here we have only got the duration and not the begin and the end time. We did not insert time for send and receive states because message exchange is done electronically. So forward has no time. And altogether in this instance, the subject purchaser is involved 35 minutes, just at the 10 minutes, and the 5 minutes and the 20 minutes. Let's have a little bit more detailed look at the example. After creating the order request, he sends it to the approver, then waits for an answer. As I already mentioned, if the request is denied, then the instance ends. Otherwise, he waits for the approval and forwards the order to the warehouse. Then he waits for the information about the date of delivery, and then he waits for the delivery, checks the delivery, and as I mentioned before, then the process ends. And in this instance, the duration is 35 minutes. Now, applying this procedure to all subjects. We have got processing times for one instance for the purchaser, as we have seen, 35 minutes, and then for the approver, 10 minutes. We assumed for the warehouse, 30 minutes, invoice verification and accounting bookkeeping, each 5 minutes, and then altogether 85 minutes. That's the total processing time. Now, in the user manager, people working for the company, that are the people you've seen in the organizational chart. The people working for the company are assigned to the abstract subjects, purchaser, approver, and so on. If needed, you can define groups, like organizational groups, and roles as well. Now, for estimating the costs of the processes, we need cost information, in our case wage information, for the employees, and we assumed for the people of the executive board 200 euros, the department heads 100, and for all other people 50 euros per hour. And now we have got time information, we have got wage information, and it's a simple multiplication to determine the personal related process costs. The table here shows for the instance how much the total process with the people involved and the subjects involved costs. It's 79 euros and some cents. If there is a sufficient number of instances, we could calculate a standard cost rate for this process, or a valid average cost value. And this average cost value could be used as a standard. Now, having assigned employees to subjects and to the organizational groups, it's possible to calculate two different kinds of cost information. First of all, information in the process perspective, and second, in the cost center perspective. For the cost center perspective, I've shown you that it is just a multiplication of the process times by the wage rate and then aggregate the products over the instances that are occurring during the observation period. If you calculate process costs per cost center, then you have to then you need the processing times and the appropriate wage rate, and have to aggregate over the instances occurring in this cost center. Then you can see how the total costs of are distributed within a cost center. Now, let's come to a short conclusion and some aspects of future work. First, with the example, we could show that it could be that personal costs can easily be integrated in SPPM. We just need additionally hourly or a minute-related wage rate that has to be assigned to the people working for the company, and then the people are assigned to the abstract subjects. Then, next point is that if you focus on personal costs, our concept would be especially suited for service industry or personal intensive parts in general industry with a high degree of indirect costs. The third point is that using the time information for activities from the workflow engine avoids some problems of activity-based costing. Actually, you could use the number of orders as a cost driver instead of time information as we did. Number of orders, then you have got the problem that there might be very specialized orders or standardized orders, and the cost influence is different. So that you have to use two different cost drivers in order to have the influence of those drivers. Next point, we think that activity-based costing could benefit from a preceding SPPM implementation. It's often said that the implementation of activity-based costing is quite time-consuming and cost-intensive. If we use the information out of the activity bundles analysis and modeling in SPPM, we have got the effort once and can use it twice for the process engine and for activity-based costing. So now I have got two aspects for future work. The first one has to do with the point mentioned before. We think that the investigation of how the implementation of activity-based costing can benefit from a preceding SPPM implementation would be valuable. And in regard to process controlling, there would be the next steps to extend the example by determining and specifying more key figures, not only cost figures, but also quality and time related figures, and the next steps about customer satisfaction and so on. And then go further to the strategic level of process controlling. And then we would suggest to test it with a representative number of instances and of different processes. So, I think I made it in time. Okay, thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for the interesting speech. We're absolutely perfectly timed, so I have some time left for the discussion. Are there any questions from the audience?
Geht wahrscheinlich oben.
Okay, so thank you. I think it seems to be a first approach of this
Yes.
activity-based costing and SPPM methodology, because the normally activity-based costing project should be in front of such an approach, because the outcome of an activity-based costing project is activity-based costs, related cost center, cost types, organizations and products, and that I think SPPM could use, can use, but not
the other way around.
to combine an activity-based costing project with an SPPM project. I think you should use the outcome of an activity-based costing, because if you have cost information in SPPM and that are not confirmed by the controlling, because you add minutes and something like that, it's not possible that you get a confirmation from controlling. And if you have costs without confirmation of the controlling, you have really nothing. I
Okay.
think these two things should be
Combined. I think
combined, but not
our view was this. The question was, what could we use in order to get cost information,
yeah.
and how can we use the information that Metasonic Flow gives us? There's so many information stored in the process engine that could be used, for example, to calculate the standard costs of a process.
The real benefit of SPPM for activity-based costing is normally to have different process instances, and you can there define a cost for that. That is a real benefit of that. Cost activity-based costing could not get all this benefit of that of a real activity-based costing project. So, but I think the combination is good.
The combination.
Everything together is too complicated.
Okay, I would call this concept bottom up,
Yeah.
and the other one is top down, and the combination.
The combination is the right thing, yes. That is.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you.
Any other questions?
Can you say something about the legal implications of this approach?
Oh.
It's up to law. You know, it's the point where you combine process codes with single people. So you get, I don't know.
Somehow you have to lose the information who the person is. You only have to remember the subject, and that's abstract. But I don't know how it works. Maybe?
This was also a question I'd like to ask, because you're dealing with very private and sensitive data, and SPPM could really break it down to the point. I mean, this is the strength, of course, yes, but this means also if the process gets more expensive, then 5 people say, did you got more salary? No. Oh, he has. So, I mean, this is the one of the issues that might be really a problem. So if we, let's say, if you go further with this approach, I think especially in Germany, you really have to take care about that. I mean, in the US, people talk about their wages and stuff. It's a different thing, but here it's a very private issue. So we have really to ensure these issues that they're solved. And I have another question. Are there any tools for that, like that would be serving as a source for these data, like visualizing that you can visualize these information?
Actually, this is a conceptual work, and now the question is about the implementation, and we discussed it as well. The next step, another aspect for future work, would be to do a pilot project with the company using SPPM and Metasonic software, and then you can see how to solve the problems already mentioned, with the legal aspects and with the tools to be integrated to visualize information.
Okay, so yeah, I think you have to think over the legal aspect really even before you roll out into a live testing, just because I also would imagine that this would be a
Yeah, we just
there's something to add which might even turn this legal aspect into even worse scenario. If I think back yesterday, we heard something about an organizational server which perfectly could be used to add wage information for people, and then you could even track down costs more precisely and more flexible, because what Cornelia showed, the assignment of users to subjects in the current solution is static, And we heard about this organization as well, which could turn that into a more flexible relation assignment at runtime, and then you can really go down per second and measure what the costs are. The cost per person are per let's say, subject representative. So the question, the legal question is an issue. And of course we can go back to subject level, but then we lose information again. And this is something we need to think about and come and see or know a solution for it. That is something to investigate.
Okay, any other questions? No? So then, I guess we're ready for lunch. And thank you one more time.